the Evergreen Media Network studios, brought to you by Evergreen Media, creating cohesive marketing campaigns. Evergreen Media in Vero Beach.
Honestly, without Treasure Coast Community Health, I think we'd be a much poorer community in terms of our health. We're always striving to fill the gap for everyone in the community, rich or poor.
Good afternoon, and welcome to Community Conversations. I'm Vicki Soule, the CEO of Treasure Coast Community Health. And for those of you that have been in town for some time, you know that we have really worked to improve access for all people to get health care, whether they have insurance or whether they don't, whether they have a mansion on the beachside or a regular home for a group of people. And so I have to always thank our community partners for their support, their understanding, and their referrals, because it takes a whole community to really help improve that community. And so each week I bring individuals on, many of whom are in not-for-profit organizations. But I think you'll be particularly surprised today because, and I hope we are as well, because Z and I are going out on a limb. My guest today is Zamarys Webster. She is the licensed clinical social worker who works at the Indian River County Sheriff's Department. And that's a partnership that we have had for almost 2 years for people who are ordinary folks, by the most part, who are detained because they perhaps made a bad decision or no decision at all that landed them in jail for a corrective stay. There are a few that their crimes are pretty serious and they don't stay in the jail very long. They move on into the penitentiary system. But most folks are detained for a short period of time, and we want to give them the best care that they can have while they're there, because they won't have to worry about transportation, for one thing. Right. So welcome, Z. Appreciate you being here.
Hello. Thanks for inviting me.
Well, you have been at the jail now since we started our partnership. So is this the first time, or have you been in a jail setting clinically before? No,
this is my first time working in a jail setting. Completely unexpected. I've worked in treatment and other things, but never in a jail. I've never visited a jail. So this is my first experience.
So were you worried about the safety issues of working in a jail?
Initially, when I first got there, I wanted to know a lot of the protocols and what the protocols were in place. Fortunately for me, and I would say probably for the entire TCCH staff, the medical and mental health department, I've never felt unsafe. Typically, we're escorted with deputies. Typically, our detained persons are cuffed either by their legs and their hands and their waist. And we usually monitored on camera 24/7. Usually, a deputy is within arm's distance, so safety is not necessarily has been a concern of mine since seeing the practices that they've put into place.
So how does that work? Do individuals say they'd like to have some counseling, or is there a protocol for reviewing individuals while they're there? How does that work?
So typically, anytime a person is booked, during the booking process, they do an entire medical and mental health screening, which identifies people with either a history of mental health issues. And they're explained the processes that we have in place already. So for someone who has identified mental health issues, I'm notified. Typically, I make contact with them. I'll send them a confidential message. Or if it's someone who's demonstrating some sort of behavioral concerns, and they're placed in other housing, more alternative housing, then I'll meet with them and do an assessment, typically within the first 24 to 48 hours.
So when you talk about alternative housing, you're saying that you expect them to be there a short time and then perhaps they'd go to a diversion court like the mental health court, or how is that? I'm confused about alternative housing.
So sometimes, unfortunately, we have a very big population that are under substance use or chemically dependent or in some sort of mental health crisis.
Throughout the whole county?
Yeah,
not just
absolutely.
Those that are incarcerated?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So when they come in, if they're in some sort of mental health crisis and we deem them it would be unsafe for them to be housed, maybe they're having active paranoia, or they're having suicidal thoughts, then they are placed in either special risk or mental health observation,
Okay.
just for their safety and their risk until we're able to properly assess. Once they're assessed and we determine, hey, maybe this was drug related or this is truly a mental health issues, then we make the appropriate referrals to the psychiatrist for medication management. And then they're cleared and go to general population when it's deemed safe.
So parents, aunts, uncles, guardians, be reassured that we're looking out for the safety of your loved ones as well. Just because they made a mistake doesn't mean that they aren't deserving of care. So that's reassuring to me, because once they tell you that your relative or your friend is in jail, not ever being there, your mind can come up with a number of really tough scenarios, particularly added to the drama of TV shows and movies. You know? And I keep saying to myself and to others, well, it's not necessarily that, but thank you for adding that.
Yeah.
What kinds of things do individuals contact you for? I mean, if it's a fairly young person and they've never been incarcerated before and they're not familiar with what's going to happen, do you see them reaching out for issues of anxiety?
Absolutely. So one of our most prevalent issues obviously is adjusting to detainment, especially if it's their first time. Like, how do I adjust to being in this environment? This is an abnormal environment for most people. So sometimes it's like, how do I deal with family dynamics? They can come to me, they reach out, send a message, and I'll meet with them and provide them a safe space, confidential space, just, them and myself, if it's safe, and just kind of process a lot of the anxiety, depression, feelings of just being overwhelmed with being in that environment.
Yeah. I'm a loser, and how did I get here?
Yeah, we see some of that. We certainly have a lot of shame and guilt that comes along with it. When we're talking about either mental health or we're talking about substance use, there's definitely a lot of shame and guilt and regret that goes along. And how am I okay with, the potential outcomes of what it is that I'm facing? We do have people who are facing lengthy life terms, and so how do you come to terms with the potential of spending the rest of your life incarcerated?
And how do you deal with that? That's got to be quite a burden on the therapist as well. Having to do that. Say what?
Healthy boundaries?
Yes. Okay. Got it. A lot of exercise at night, talking with others and forgetting about your day job.
Yeah. No, I love what I do. I absolutely love what I do. I feel like I meet people at their worst and traumas and see them grow and come to peace and terms. I see people develop their connections with their faith, with their families, restoring a lot of those relationships, and just overall coping. So it's something that I know that sometimes I don't, my goal is not to fix anyone. My goal is to implant seeds, and when they water it, that's on them.
Excellent philosophy. So do you see a lot of people every day? I know that I've heard from Sheriff Flowers that although the average daily census might only be slightly less than 500, that over the course of a year, some 5,000 people travel through that system here in Indian River County. So that's got to mean that you're a pretty busy person.
I am a very busy person. I probably have about 25 interactions on a regular daily basis. And that's including my counseling sessions, my initial screenings, people who are under mental health and special risk housing. So I'm averaging about 100 or so a week easily.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the psychiatrist can help with med management. If they have been on medications prior to being picked up and put in jail, can family deliver those medications, or do you guys kind of start from scratch?
Yes. So depending on the type of medication, some medications we have in-house. So typically what we do is we have the nurses verify the medications. Obviously our goal is to get them to continue their medications, both medical and mental health meds. So that way they don't really have any lapse, because that can cause some major issues medically and mental health, for decompensation. So we typically try to continue their medications as prescribed, as long as it's allowed within the jail setting.
Well, since you've mentioned the medical visits as well, does it vary from person to person, or does everyone first see the medical provider and then see you, or do you, based on priorities and acuities, kind of jump the line for them?
It kind of depends. Part of the initial screening that's done at the booking process identifies priorities, crisis.
Okay.
If we have someone who, let's say, for example, is in a mental health crisis or they're under dialysis, they're going to definitely be seen by the medical team, typically within the next business day, or depending on the timing, it'd probably be the same day. Okay. I go down to booking very often and meet with people right during the booking process to help prioritize the needs of the community.
And you mentioned family. Do you take calls from family members? Can they send letters? Or, if there's someone that's concerned, because, again, most often the first time after that is sort of like, okay, we figured this out. Yeah. But particularly the first time, families can be pretty anxious. How is that handled?
So typically the first thing, if someone is initially detained and there is a concern for mental health issues, they typically will reach out to the mental health department, and I will take all the information. So the more information that I'm able to gather, background history, Baker Acts, suicide risks, medication history, I am able to take as much information, but unfortunately I'm not able to give any information.
Right.
I can give information about processes, just to ensure their safety. But, everything is HIPAA protected, and they are adults. But I will take, the more information I can receive, the better I am able to address their needs.
And so would family members call into the general jail number?
Yes.
And then just ask for medical or behavioral health?
Yes.
Okay, very good. So we're going to take a short break for a word from our sponsors. And when we come back, we're going to explore a little bit more, maybe on the substance abuse disorder side. Okay, great. Stay tuned. Treasure Coast Community Health in-house pharmacies have the lowest prices in Indian River County, even lower than big box pharmacies. Taking your medication as prescribed leads to better health. Affordable medicine makes it easier. Treasure Coast Community Health patients can pick up medicine as they leave the office or use free delivery and mail order services. Pharmacists are always available to answer questions. Switch to TCCH pharmacies. Save money, stay healthy. 772-257-8224 and ask about our price match.
If you dream of creating a home with furniture where you make life one long weekend, visit Sunshine Furniture now and save 50% on all Tommy Bahama and Lexington during the fall savings event. Bedroom, living, and dining room, home office, media, and occasional furniture that is inviting and comfortable, Tommy Bahama and Lexington offer everything you need to furnish your Florida home. We're also having a huge half-price fall sale on lots of other coastal furniture by Universal, Hooker, Riverside, Seawinds, and Capri, including big sales on patio furniture by Berlin Gardens, Lloyd Flanders, Telescope, Kingsley Bait, and Windward. All pictures, lamps, and accessories are half price, and in-stock rugs are on sale too. Sunshine Furniture, 1295 US 1 in Vero Beach next to Planet Fitness. Visit our website at sunshinefurniturecasual.com and be sure to shop our outlet store directly across the street.
Sunshine Furniture, the best in every way. Have a sunshine day. Sunshine.
If you operate a small business, you need services like payroll, tax compliance, HR tools, and other resources. You need Complete Employee Solutions. Vero Beach has a team of professionals, including Anthony Sammons, Matt McCain, and Jennifer Comer, who saw the need for competent payroll, HR, and employee leasing services. Call Complete Employee Solutions at 772-978-7277 or visit their website at CompleteEmployeeSolutions.com.
And welcome back to Community Conversations. If you're just joining, my name is Vicki Soule. I'm the CEO of Treasure Coast Community Health, which provides primary care, medical, dental, behavioral health at 8 different locations around our community at freestanding centers that have integrated care. We strive to allow everyone to have a patient-centered medical home a place that they can go and everybody knows your name. No, seriously, we really want to make sure that the continuity of care is there for you so that you don't have to repeat everything as you go from one discipline to another, as well as those that are those that are very fortunate in not having to come in frequently. We don't bombard you with a number of questions, regardless of what center you might be coming to based on your work and residence location. But we also have a ninth location where we deliver primary care, and that is within the Indian River Sheriff's Jail here in Indian River County. And today we have Zamarys with us, who is a licensed clinical social worker who's been with us for almost 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And she sees, I can't believe this, about 25 people every day. She is a very energetic individual, but as we know, not everyone needs half an hour of your time. We just talked about how families can contact if they have history that they want to share for safety factors for their loved ones. Oftentimes, a first-time offender, family, friends, spouses, get pretty anxious themselves and want to reach out. So let's talk about the stigma. We know that there's a stigma about mental health on the outside. Mm-hmm. A lot of people will not take their medications because it lessens them in their mind. Mm-hmm. How is it in the jail?
I feel that initially, depending if someone is in a mental health crisis, mm-hmm. We obviously we cannot force them to take medications, but I believe with the constant interactions and seeing the changes, the trust building, sometimes people are a little bit more apt to become a medication compliant. I would definitely say that depression and anxiety is one of the bigger mental health issues that we treat.
It's the same outside.
Yeah,
that is probably the number one and two.
Breaking those stigmas in terms of cultural barriers, financial barriers, where people aren't always able to access services, whether through finances, transportation, whatever the case may be. At least within this setting, they're able to access it while they're there. And then, of course, we try to set them up with services post-release.
So when they get released, if they've got medication while they're in the jail, how do they get released then relative to medications?
Mm-hmm. So right now, the policy is, and I know they're working on some changes, the policy is that everyone receives a voucher. So a voucher for, I believe it's 3 days for a local pharmacy. So they're at least able to receive their medications and contact their primary care physician. For people who are part of mental health court, they receive their entire medication. So anything that's on the medication cart, they are able to take that home with them because they are part of mental health court.
And there they have the responsibility to do what they are supposed to do. Mm-hmm. And then it's sort of like a probation,
yes,
where they come into court once or twice a month, and report how they're doing. And so then those folks that are not part of the mental or drug courts that are released, if they don't have a primary care physician, what do you recommend that they do?
I would recommend that they reach out to UAP, United Against Poverty. We're working hand in hand with them in making sure that there's a ease in transition. There's a lot of big changes coming, a lot of good positive stuff coming to ensure that the community is able, once they are released into the community, that they're able to continue in the progress that they were able to make while they were incarcerated or detained.
Yeah, and places like the Mental Health Association has the walk-ins, and so all of those resources are provided to individuals before they leave, both verbally and in writing. Again, the whole point of us providing care there, besides it's the right thing to do, is that the outcome goal is to reduce recidivism.
Absolutely.
Don't make it easy for people to come back. Make it easy for them to go back to a fulfilling and productive life. So when individuals have substance use disorders, when they come into the jail, that's identified, as you said, through the entry assessment. Then what happens?
So for people who are identified as chemically dependent, obviously they'll go through the medical withdrawal, the detox protocol, whatever medications, depending on their type of drug use. So once they're cleared of that, the Indian River County Sheriff's Office offers substance abuse classes, as well as we partner with Substance Abuse Council for people who are identified that would benefit from naltrexone or Vivitrol for medication-assisted treatment. So they're able to prolong sobriety within the setting as well as outside of the setting. So we're trying to combat it in every arena that we possibly can to reduce those risks, because chemical dependency is one of the biggest issues that is faced within this community.
Absolutely. And I can remember several years ago, pre-COVID, the Substance Awareness Center would send peers in to do education and to talk to them, sort of like a NAMI group, only within the jail, to talk about, what is addiction, what causes it, what triggers it, what can you do about it. And so that was actually the beginning, because, and the jail folks were wonderful because they had lost 2 trustees who were met by their dealer upon release, and not realizing that being off of it, their body processed the chemicals differently, and they both overdosed. And that was really, it was really hard on everyone involved. And so we made the notion then that we could do something about it. And while it was sidebarred a little bit, as most things were during COVID, I'm so thrilled that they're coming back. And Jones, who is doing a lot, phenomenal to prep people, not from a medical point of view, but from employment, job skills, working with the UAP STEP program, but also inviting employers in to talk to folks that would be a suitable match for some of their openings. So, again, I'm very proud of what we do here in Indian River County, because it is not something that's done all over. Right. And speaking of that is the accreditation process. Can you address that briefly from a mental health perspective?
Sure. The National Commission of Correctional Healthcare is what are like the gold standard of the medical and mental health. There's 2 components to it. Okay. And so that's what we're striving for. I believe we're hoping for certification in the next year, 2 or something like that. But it's the gold standard. It is the processes and procedures that says you are not just meeting the basic needs of people, but you're exceeding what it is that what they need in order to have successful, healthy, emotional lives. And so that is what we are shooting for. I believe our medical department is pretty much already in line with that. Our mental health we're working on it. It's definitely is a process. Staffing, we need some of that. So
well, unfortunately, we need it all over. Everywhere. And so this is a shout out to individuals who might be saying, okay, COVID is past. Yeah. I was trained in this. Could they reach out then and look for positions working with you?
Absolutely. Yes, please, please come
and
down.
Students, interns.
Yes. So we just, I am the supervisor for Barry University and Indian River State College. So we are accepting interns for internship opportunities, a bachelor's level, as well as master's level.
So call Zamarys.
Come on down.
Call your kids, call your grandkids. Tell them this is an unbelievable opportunity to get experience in a very fine setting that will take them a long way as a professional. Yeah. So thank you all for being here. I see our time's run out. Yeah. Thank you, Z, for being here and sharing so much of the good work that you do. Stay tuned next week. We'll have another interesting guest, not from the jail. We hope you have a wonderful week. Take care now.